It is wrap-up time! Okay, here's the deal. I haven't done a wrap-up since June. I think I read about 3 books every month or so that's not that many, considering people on BookTube read like maybe 9 or 10 books a month, and I really don't. So my question unto you is this: would you rather have a monthly wrap-up, regardless how many books are in it, if it's like 2 or 3 books, or have a big collector wrap-up like this one? I have 9 books to talk about today. So which would you like? Let me know. I like feedback. Okay, let's do that wrap-up thing that people do. Let's do that. So like I said, I have 9 books to talk about today, all differing from 5 stars all the way down to 1 star. I'm gonna do the old pippity-pop style and go from my favourites to my least favourites. So the first book that I must discuss today was my most recent read and my most favourite read of the year so far. Oh my gosh, I still can't get over it. It is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. Holy, oh my god, where did this even come from? So I picked this up without really knowing that much about it. I just kind of picked it up blindly from the recommendation of Max at Well Done Books and Amy at Shout Amy. I'll link both of them down below. You're gonna need to subscribe to them. So I would really recommend trying to go into this without knowing that much about it, if you can. Obviously, if you know a lot about it already, then it is too late for you, but that's fine. It's still amazing. You can still enjoy it. This follows a girl called Kirsten, who is part of the Travelling Symphony, and they kind of perform Shakespeare and music 20 years after a deadly flu kind of strikes the world and has a very big effect on the world as we know it now. And it's... I really think that if you just go into it without really knowing very much and like enjoying the ride, it is just such an amazing experience. But I would say that if you are primarily a YA reader and you really want to try and get into adult novels, this is a really good one to go to. It's so beautifully written, but at the same time it's really accessible and it's not difficult to follow. It's really easy to understand, but it's like the most beautifully woven and like crafted story I've read in such a long time, and I'm absolutely in love with it. It was just fantastic, and I would definitely recommend this. So it's funny because before I read Station 11, this was my favourite book of the year so far before that one took over, and it is The Martian by Andy Weir. So I'm sure you've probably heard of this by now. This is about an astronaut called Mark Watney who is kind of left abandoned on Mars because the rest of his team think that he's dead. So it's the kind of tale of his survival, and it's just amazing. Oh, so good. So like many others, probably my favourite thing about this book was the main character, Mark Watney, because he carries the book through with his sense of humour. He's just like, he's such a legend. He's stuck on Mars and he's just like, lol. It is quite science heavy. I would say like you really have to push through the first 50 to 100 pages because it's quite slow and quite science heavy. I was a bit like, ooh, if the whole book is going to be this, I might have a bit of trouble, but just push through. It's bloody brilliant, and I really enjoyed reading about space, which I don't normally. It kind of terrifies me, the idea of space, but would definitely recommend. And obviously then I saw the film, and the film was great. So my next 5-star book was The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness, which I did do a little review of, which you can go and watch right here. Right there. So I won't talk about that too much because I think this video will be very long, but I fell in love with it. It's a just incredibly beautiful and diverse book, and it kind of opens your mind up to a lot of different issues and things happening, and it's just wonderful, and I would definitely recommend it. You may also remember that a while ago I was rereading the Lunar Chronicle series, and I was part way through Cress in my last wrap-up, so I obviously finished Cress, gave it 5 stars. Do I have to talk about this series anymore? Is it even possible for me to rave about the series anymore? I don't think so. Favourite book ever? Yeah, I think so. Okay, so now we are onto 4-star books. I indulged in a little graphic novel a few months ago, and that was Saga Volume 2 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. It was so brilliant. For some reason I was just like obsessed. I really loved where the story went, and I love the characters so much. Definitely enjoyed it more than the first one, so I'm hoping that the series just gets better and better for me. I'm gonna try and hold off and not buy the next one for a while because they take quite a long time to come out, but I would definitely recommend picking up this graphic novel series if you haven't yet and you're not afraid of like really graphic content. So my next 4-star book was Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. I've heard this being referred to as corporate feminism. I don't know if that's actually the term, but it seems kind of applicable. So it's basically Sheryl Sandberg, who works at Facebook, talking about lots of her different experiences as a woman in the business world and how she's been treated and how she's kind of balanced her work life and her home life and just lots of her different experiences basically, and it's very, very interesting. She's quite a prominent figure in business in a lot of ways, I think, and it's really interesting just to hear from her point of view about a lot of topics because she is quite a legend. Definitely cemented my feminism. So now we are on the 3-star books. So the first one is Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. This was very kindly sent to me by Penguin Random House, which I really, really appreciated. I did have pretty high hopes for this, which probably didn't help anything. So this is basically about a girl who is allergic to everything in the world and she has to stay in her sterile home and not leave the house because she might die. And you know, I did love the diversity in this book. I thought that was really just nice to see. I actually didn't mind the romance too much. I thought the romance was quite sweet. I really liked the dialogue between them because it's got lots of different kind of elements in there. It's got emails, texts, illustrations and all of that kind of thing. It's got loads of different things in there which I really, really liked. It kind of keeps things fresh and keeps you reading. I would love to see that kind of thing in more books. I thought it was brilliant and it didn't feel at all forced. It felt really, really well meshed into the book and it felt like it belonged there, which was really nice. I think the main problem that I had with this book was some of the routes that the story took felt really forced and some of the developments of the characters felt really kind of false. It didn't feel very believable to me, which is something that I'm having more and more trouble with books nowadays, as I just find it really difficult to find things believable and find characters' decisions like believable. I'm like, why are you doing this? Would you really do that? Why? I thought the execution of some of the plot points that I really don't want to give away because there's definitely a spoiler in there, but I thought the execution of some parts of the plot were quite poorly done and really needed a bit more development and explanation. I did enjoy it. It's definitely a quick, easy read. I think I read it in like 2 days, which for me is really, really quick because I'm a slow reader. But I did give it 3 stars and I honestly would recommend it. I think it is a really lovely read. It's just there were some things that I think were lacking and needed a bit more development. The next 3-star book is another non-fiction and it is The Psychopath Test by Jon Ronson. So Jon Ronson basically discusses his kind of exploration of the madness industry and what actually technically makes someone a psychopath. So it's basically him talking about different case studies of different psychopaths and psychopathic killers, which I find personally very interesting, and if you do too, then I would recommend this because it's definitely an interesting read. He does kind of go off kilter at 1 or 2 points and kind of leaves the subject behind and kind of loses relevance a little bit. Also, if you find the subject of kind of mental illness diagnosis interesting, then it delves into that as well and how kind of reliable psychologists are, then it delves into that as well, which I found really interesting too. And interesting seems to be the word of the day. So that was it for 3-star books and 2-star books because I haven't read any 2-star books recently. So now we are on to 1-star books, which there is just one of, and that was The Dark Light by Julia Bell. This is basically about a girl who's a bit of a rebel, who has very religious parents and gets sent to an island which houses a cult, a very religious cult. This basically was just a really confused book. It was kind of a little bit all over the place. I didn't really feel like it had a direction. The characters were really poorly developed and I didn't understand any of the relationships going on. They didn't feel very well thought through or developed at all. I really liked the idea. The idea was pretty good in itself, but it was just really poorly executed, and there are definitely better books about cults out there, and this is definitely the worst one of the lot that I've read, so I did give it 1 star. I wouldn't recommend it, unfortunately. There just wasn't really anything that I enjoyed about it. So those are all of the books that I have read recently. Do again let me know if you prefer wrap-ups kind of this long with this many books in it, or if you prefer more instalments of shorter wrap-ups. That would be really good to know. And thank you in advance, and thank you very much for watching. I very much appreciate it, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.